Do you have a back end? This is Peter Merrick and we're La Jolla, and I'd like to share with you some thoughts on that, because being on this platform, you don't get paid for views, for content. So why do people do it? Because they need a back end. They need to go and give out something to people that they value, so those people will take action and they will actually purchase something that actually makes you money. Compensation creates business for you. So you need to know what your back end is, and most people unfortunately don't. So we're going to talk about the back end, and I'm going to give you two examples, and if we have time I'm going to share with you my back end. So the first one I want to talk about is the loss leader. You know what the loss leader is? It's when you sell something where you take a loss in hopes that people are going to patronize you, and they will patronize whatever you're selling, your service, and you'll make much more money off of your back end. I'm going to give you a perfect example. In the city of Toronto, where I come from, the loss leader was created by a gentleman named Ed Mervish. He had an extravaganza discount store that was a city block, and it was called Honest Ed's. And he used to give away free turkeys and chickens and so many things that people would come to his store, and they'd end up buying much, much more than whatever he was giving away, or the discounts that he was giving on that thing that was drawing them to his store. So he was the master of the back end. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted people to show up at his store so they would spend money at his store rather than someone else's store. And isn't that what we all want? We want people to come to our store and spend money, or actually have us make money, rather than going to someone else. And the question is, are you conscious of what you do? Because you cannot actually have a back end without having an intent of what you want. I have a second story, and this is really fascinating because this is where I learned about the back end. There was an individual that I knew who sold over 500 homes per year and was the top agent for his international brokerage, and he was able to advertise it. The average home that he sold was anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000. So he's making on average about $2,500 to $10,000, or that's what the commission was on selling these homes. That's what it was. And even though he was selling that many homes, you would think this guy didn't have a life, but that's not true, because the truth is, even though he advertised himself as an agent, he was actually a broker, because he had other agents who were showing the homes and listing the homes and selling the homes. So he was paying out a lot of money in advertisement, in his system, in his program, and also to these other agents. So many agents in Toronto, where I come from, they used to make fun of him. They say he makes no money. Even though he sells so many homes, he doesn't make money because he's really paying out everything in advertisement. I think back in the late 80s, early 90s, he was spending like $1 million a year for all his advertisement worldwide. And let me share with you why I say worldwide, because the people who were making those judgments in his business within where I come from, they didn't understand what his back end is. Yeah, because if they were just looking at it from where they were coming from, they made money off of selling real estate, they got a commission, and that was their back end. It was leading to selling homes. That wasn't his back end. So let me continue what he did. Now the fact that his team, his listing, he was the lead agent, but the listing agents, the selling agents, all those people would lead up to him selling 500 homes a year, and he was able to say that for this international real estate company that he was the top agent. He started creating a newsletter, and the newsletter started giving information. How did he do it? And he would provide really great information. And usually around the third or fourth newsletter, people would see that he would always have a conference where you could go, not just read his stuff, you could go to it. But before that happened, you could buy his quantum system. So he would give you everything. We're talking, he would, for like $500, he would give you everything. He was selling about 20,000 units a year. Could you imagine? It was just postage. This is before you could email it in portals and things like that. Now people would go and read this stuff and say, this is so fantastic. But his next call to action is, hey, that's great that I've given you all this information. I'm telling you exactly what I do. But if you want to actually see it in action and actually meet me and meet my team and see how this is actually implemented, I'm having a conference. And this conference that he would have it quarterly, and he would have anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 people show up, and they were paying about $2,500 for 2.5 days, and a continental breakfast. That was it. That's all they got. And he would give all this information that he had been giving in his newsletters and giving it into his quantum system, and he would actually show them it live and how it was working, and then people could come to his office and see how it worked. Now the last night, it was incredible, because this was where he was selling his back end. Well, he had another one that I'll talk about, but his back end he had a coaching program. In the coaching program, he was charging $25,000. Could you imagine? $25,000. Remember, when he was selling real estate, he was only making anywhere from $2,500 selling these homes at $200,000 to $300,000 to maybe $10,000, depending on the situation. But for his coaching program, it was $25,000. So he had thousands of people who had actually come to his program, and there were a number of them who went from nothing to becoming the top agent in their region, and they would voluntarily get up and tell their stories, and they would outdo each other. I remember once listening to someone, and maybe I'm embellishing this, but this individual came up. He looked very good, he looked happy, he was stern, and he tells a story about how he was overweight, he wasn't selling any homes, he saw the newsletter, he felt that he needed to go to the program. He borrowed some money, he went to the program, and he heard someone talk about their life and how it had changed, just like he was sharing to these people. And he borrowed $25,000 and he invested in that program. And now, from almost being bankrupt, the fact that he was obese, the fact that his kids were about to leave him, his wife was about to leave him, the kids weren't talking to him, and he had high diabetes. Now he lost 150 pounds. His kids were talking to him, his blood sugar was normal, and he sold 250 homes last year, all because taking that program. And this individual who had buying agents and selling agents, he was making pure profit. He was selling about 400 coaching programs a year at $25,000. So those people in his hometown who saw him spending all this money on advertisements saying he doesn't make money, their back end was selling homes. His back end was selling the coaching programs. And what he was also doing, he was selling his system. So if he had commercials, if he had phone systems, all these things, he was selling them as well, and he was making money on that as well. So you need to know what your back end is. Now, LinkedIn doesn't allow you to make money by views, but that's okay. You need to know your back end. And I'll share with you what my back end. My back end is not these videos. My back end is not my writing. My back end is not my book. My back end is not my public speaking, which I get paid a fair penny when they bring me out to speak. My back end is my consulting. So what can I do? As I can give my videos for free, because that's not where I make my money. I can go and have my book, The King of Main Street, where I talk about most of the concepts that we're talking about right now. I can give that at a very cheap price. I don't need to make money. Why? Because my consulting is equivalent for each consulting that I do is equivalent to selling 50 to 100,000 books. Listen, if you're not my friend, join me. Like, share. I look forward to sharing more. And remember, figure out your back end, and I promise you, you will actually be successful. You need to know what you're selling and what's the purpose behind it. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.